Hey everybody, and welcome to my kitchen. I've had a bunch of you ask me if I can make some Instant Pot recipes. So I thought, let's start with the basics and do macaroni and cheese. Let's get started. To start out our Instant Pot macaroni and cheese, we need to turn on our Instant Pot. I'm going to press saute right here just to heat up the bottom. Then we're gonna open our lid. And we're going to add 4 cups of water to the Instant Pot. Then we're adding 4 tablespoons of butter, which is half of a cube. So go ahead and just plop that whole thing in. And I'm using 1 pound of elbow macaroni. You can use any kind of pasta that you like, but my kids like the elbow macaroni. So I'm using 16 ounces, which is 1 pound. Then we'll add half a teaspoon of salt. And I just like to give that a quick stir. And then we will go ahead and put on our lid and close that up. Make sure that this is in sealing, not the venting, but the sealing. Now we'll come over here and we're going to pressure cook. So let's get this down to 4 minutes. And we'll come back when the timer goes off. Our timer went off, so we're just going to leave the Instant Pot just as it is. We're not gonna touch anything. We're gonna do a natural release for 5 minutes. And while it's natural releasing, let's go ahead and start grating our cheese. We're gonna be using 3 different kinds of cheese today. I like to use just a basic cheddar cheese. You can use either medium or sharp, whatever you prefer. And then I have a Monterey Jack cheese, and I also have Muenster cheese. I like to have a variety of cheeses. I think it just gives the macaroni extra depth of flavor instead of just one flavor. So let's go ahead and start with our Monterey Jack. Now, the recipe calls for about 2.5 cups of cheese, so we're just gonna eyeball it between the 3 kinds of cheeses. I prefer to grate my own cheese instead of buying the packaged cheese. I feel like it has better flavor, it melts easier, and it doesn't have that cornstarch on it, which prevents the cheese from sticking. So I just prefer to buy a block and grate it myself. But if you're short on time, you can easily just use the bagged shredded cheese. Plus you get in a good arm workout, so why not grate your own cheese? When I was a kid growing up, every time my mom would grate cheese, my dad somehow had a nose for grated cheese. He would come in and sneak the cheese. And my dad was the only person allowed to sneak cheese. If my mom caught us sneaking cheese, us kids, woo, we were in trouble. Now we're doing our Muenster cheese. If you haven't tried Muenster cheese, it's a very soft cheese, it's mild. I like the flavor. If you haven't tried it, at least go get 1 block and just try it out, because you never know until you try. But it is a very softer cheese, so you have to be careful when you're grating it because it will just kind of fall apart. So I like to make sure it's really cold. So I just barely pulled it out of my fridge, and I just like to grate it when it's still cold. That'll make it a lot easier than if it was up at room temperature. I can see our Instant Pot has come up to 5 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're gonna just turn our sealing to venting and let that finish depressurizing, and then we can open the lid. I just wanna throw out a little tip for you. Just because it says Instant Pot recipe doesn't mean it's always quick. Or like if I were to boil pasta on the stove and make a roux and make homemade macaroni and cheese the old-fashioned way, it would be faster than using my Instant Pot. But the nice thing about using an Instant Pot is I don't have to babysit anything. I just throw it in, I could grate my cheese, I could do other things, and I'm not sitting over the stove making a roux, making sure nothing's burning, and all of that. So It does take a little bit longer because you have to remember it may only take 4 minutes for this to cook, but it has to come up to temperature, then it has to cook, then you have to do the release. I mean, we're right here already at 9 minutes, where I could have already boiled my pasta in about 6 minutes. So just keep that in mind when you're using your Instant Pot, is that sometimes it's not faster. But if you're cooking a roast or ribs or something like that, it is faster because I can cook ribs in about an hour versus 3 hours just in my oven. So this just popped down. That tells us that our pressure is gone, so we can open our lid, let out the steam away from you so you don't get burned. And we'll grab my spoon here. We'll stir that up and you can see that it got cooked. There will still be a little bit of water in here, so don't be alarmed. But the pasta is completely cooked. And I actually love the smell of cooked pasta, so to me, it smells good. Now we're taking our measuring cup and we're adding 1 cup of heavy whipping cream. Okay, and then we're gonna add all of our cheese. So we're adding in our Muenster, our Monterey Jack, and our cheddar. The nice thing about doing Instant Pot macaroni and cheese is it's all in one pot. So I don't have to boil pasta in one pan and make a roux in another pan. It's all just in one. I'll just mix this up. Okay, let's get out a bowl and we're gonna taste it and then we can adjust the seasonings. So when you're cooking, make sure you always taste your food before you serve it so you can then adjust the seasonings as needed. I'm gonna add just a little bit more salt, but the texture of the noodles is great. There's that creaminess. I just like a little bit more salt, and we'll add some fresh ground pepper. Now, if you want, you can add a little bit of parsley just to add color, or you can cut up your own fresh parsley as well. This makes for a perfect lunch on a Saturday, or you could make this with some homemade ribs and have macaroni and cheese on the side, or pulled pork sandwiches, whatever you prefer, or you can just serve it as is. Sometimes we like to cut up hot dogs and put those in, but let's dish it up, and I'm actually gonna use this as my lunch. You guys have to try that. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a new recipe. Thanks for following along, and we'll see you in the next video.